Hey everyone, this is Rachel and I'm here with another process video. Today I am working on a layout that's got a little bit of mixed media on it. My plan is to use these watercolors in conjunction with these punched out circles from the Fancy Free line, which was Paige Evans's first line from Pink Paislee. Now this is paper number 3. I don't know if you can still get this line or not, but basically it was filled with circles with words on one side, and then the flip side had just patterns. And oh look, I have 2 put together, which is why there weren't patterns on the other side. So what I'm thinking of doing is a diagonal layout from the top left to the bottom right with some loose watercolors and then some of the circular elements over them. I have 2, they were originally 4x6 photos, but I trimmed them down. These are not the world's best photos. They've got a lot of brightish colors. Pay no attention to this, it just has the name, so I just put some washi tape over it. But by turning them black and white, there are too many mid-tones in here. It wasn't very, you couldn't see what was going on. And this is one of those stories where turning it black and white didn't make any sense to me in my brain, and I'll talk about that while I'm working on stuff. So, as I said, I have these dots on paper of nice watercolors. So, you're supposed to use this as a tester to see, you know, what tubes of very expensive watercolor do you want to buy. But honestly, I don't really use watercolor enough. This is perfectly fine for me to use. And I believe these, and then it actually came, this is actually all one sheet. And then I just chopped it up so I could fit it in my little swatch book of watercolors. So what I do is I have them like this, and they just go in the front cover, and then I just use a little mini binder clip to keep that shut, and then that lives in my mist stadium, which is right there. And if you watch my craft area tour, I show you where all of my mists and Nuvo drops and watercolors live. So, and this just lives in there with them. So, as I said, I'm not a great watercolorist or mixed media artist, so I'm perfectly fine using these. And I bought these on Amazon, and I believe they were about $13, $14 for just the sheet. But I've already used them, I think twice, and you can't really tell that I've used them other than the fact that I swatched them out so you get an idea, because they come with just the dots. I did all of this where I brought the color out. Okay, I've been chattering at you for a while. I'm going to go ahead, get you put on fast forward. The paper I'm using is close to my heart watercolor paper. I'm pretty sure it's just their regular cardstock that people mentioned, oh wow, that stands up really well to watercolor. And so it was remarketed as watercolor paper because it feels the exact same as their other paper I have that is just called cardstock. All right, folks, I'm going to get you put on fast forward and get started with this. All right, let's get going. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is spray my paper with water. So all I'm planning on doing is dropping my watercolor onto the paper and kind of just letting it take its own path. So I start off with a light yellow, and then I'm going to move down to a darker yellow, then to an orange, to a pink, to a purple, and then to like an indigo color. So following the rainbow color, not really paying, not that I'm not paying attention, but I'm not, you know, focused on it being super neat or in a specific area, just trying to get color down on the paper. It's not, as I mentioned before in the beginning, I'm not an awesome watercolorist. I'm just someone who likes to play with paint. So now that I have the watercolor down, while my paper is still wet, I'm going to add 4 different vibes to it just by misting. I've got Glorious Day, Sunset Strip, Pink Moscato, and Princess. So when you add shimmers, when it's wet, rather than staying in tight little balls, they kind of spread out like if you drop a stone in a pond. So you get this really cool effect of multiple layers of color without a lot of effort, which is kind of my specialty when it comes to mixed media. So no more effort, lots of fun. So what I'm doing now is I'm taking these circles that I punched out from the Fancy Free collection, and the first thing I'm doing is I'm choosing the ones that have the phrases or words on them and seeing where those will work, and I'm trying to stick to the rainbow motif. Not like spectacularly, but just within a certain, like the pinks and yellows are at the top and the blues and greens are at the bottom. So once I go through and I see what ones with phrases I want to use, I then turn them around and add patterns that might work as well. Before I get too far though, I do want to make sure I have them so they're not being covered by my photos. So I'm going to start adding and tucking some more in, seeing what will work. And I have this one I'm going to use, but I didn't punch it correctly, but it's too small to be able to punch properly. So what I do when I need to do that is I get a branding strip and I just make it as if it's like a fishing pole and to be able to repunch that correctly. So I'm just poking through the circles, seeing what else will work. I pull in that gray one at the top, which probably doesn't really belong there with all the bright yellows, but I liked the words. So this particular layout is about my nephew broke his arm, and when we came back from the hospital, his friend, who is now his best friend, but they were just reaching that stage at this time, their family had come over and decorated our door with signs, and then they hung out with my nephew. Even though honestly, hanging out with someone who's just broken their arm and is in kind of just not focused at all, and if for those of you who have spent time in a hospital, it's exhausting. So he was kind of like the worst companion ever, and his best friend was just super awesome about hanging out with him. And this was summertime, so it was beginning of August when he broke his arm. So just not the world's best summertime thing to have to do. All right, so while I was chatting about what this story is about, I did map both of my photos with two of the remnants I have of the Fancy Free line of the 12 by 12 paper. I then went ahead and glued down all of my circles using my liquid glue and a mix of my liquid glue and my ATG. And I did cut away from that because, it's kind of boring watching someone glue circles down. So I have these flare, and I made these from the Fancy Free 6x6 paper pack. I have a friend who has a flare making machine, so while we were at a crop, I cut out a whole bunch, I cut out one page of them, and I'm just adding them to the page. I'm also going through what I have left over from the embellishments. It's kind of a hodgepodge. I've used this line quite a bit. I don't have a lot of it left, although I did purchase like almost the entire thing. But like what I have left is stuff that's harder for me to use. So it takes more of an effort. And I pull out this piece here that hexagonal one, and that's from part of it was this like cut file and it had embellishments with it, and now I'm pulling out the chipboard, the 12 by 12 chipboard, and I don't have a lot of this left either. So I'm going to pull out all of the buttons and all of these, they're actually supposed to be cross stitches, but I'm using them as plus signs. And the only thing I have left are two succulents and that thing that says grow where you're planted. So I'm going to just cornstarch the back of those so they can just go in with the other embellishments, and I tossed that 12 by 12 sheet because there was nothing left in it because I pulled out the last three stickers that were left. Okay, I am now gluing down all of the chipboard, and I'm poking out the holes in the button chipboards, and I don't feel the need to put thread in. Some people that's a thing. For me, it is not a thing. I'm also adding glue to my that die cut had another saying, and then I layered another die cut that said today over it just to make up for, I think it said like you and me or one and only or something along those lines, and it just didn't fit in with the story. So what I was saying was I'm also adding adhesive to my flare to add those as well and add a little bit of dimension along with the chipboard stickers. So I'm liking the way everything is looking, so yay. Now I'm going to go ahead and do my journaling, and I already talked about what this particular story was about. In the introduction, I talked about, why I left it in color when I could have just turned it black and white since I didn't necessarily love the colors in it, but I thought you really lost the wording of the signs were hard to read, and you missed how kind of messy our living room was because, we've got a kid and they're not really able to move around and stuff, so everything is kind of out. So that was my reasoning. It made sense to me. All right, folks, I am actually almost finished here. I'm just going to add my title. I am going to cut away from this. I will say what I did was I used these, I think I got these at like PGT or something like that, and I'm going to do bi-colored words. So I'm going to start off the word real in pink, in coral and finish it in pink. Start off the word friends in green and finish it in blue. So I just thought that continued the rainbow. So I think I'm done. And then I remember, oh wait, you had 09 in the puffy stickers, and it was 2009 when this happened. So I was super happy. I almost never use numbers, so I'm always happy when I get to use numbers. All right, folks, that is my layout for today. Thank you so much for joining me here. If you could flick me a thumbs up, that would be super awesome. Have a great day. Bye.